This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and far. We keeping a foot on the whoop. Oh, Neckss. We keeping a foot on the whoop. Oh, Neckss. And like the Tibetan mastiff that I am, man. Like the Siberian tiger that I am, I'm applying whoop unlimited pressure. This pressure does whoop eat persons pipes. Let's talk about it, man. All right. Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder. I'm gonna explain something to you guys, and this is what He Knows Everything was talking about. And I'm gonna get very serious with this video. Again, this is gonna be one of those videos where I'm not really gonna just go into so much soliloquy and jargon and things of that nature. Yesterday I was very tired because I was just doing so much, man. Sometimes when you're doing so much, your body has to shut down. So I just shut down. I was gonna talk about it yesterday, but I was just like, you know what? It's another day, man. I think I've done more than enough in the day, so another day I can talk about it. Now let's get on to it. Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder. Let me explain something with these two guys. If you recall, so many months ago, He Knows Everything did a video where he said that these two guys are no different from one another. I'm going to explain why they are no different from one another and why the Prediction King fashion artist tag always stays reminiscent with He Knows Everything. Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder are two examples of why black fighters always have to keep the foot on the necks. Let me say it again. Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder are the reason why two black fighters always have to keep the foot on the neck. If you don't keep the foot on the neck as a black fighter, what's going to end up happening is you're going to find yourself in what we call a precarious situation. What is the precarious situation that Deontay Wilder has found himself in? Basically a dent in the skull. Basically a paid to lose via glove game. Basically the fact that he is being gyrated behind him by a gypsy king, a crackhead, a guy who basically snorts crack and cocaine. This is the guy who beat Deontay Wilder, a guy that Deontay Wilder gave a second livelihood to, a second heartbeat. This is why He Knows Everything is looking at Deontay Wilder and it's like, what are you doing? See, this is why it doesn't pay off to do what's called a pay to lose via glove game. This is what Deontay Wilder did, a pay to lose. So a pay to lose suffers a pay to lose fate. But the reason why the pay to lose fate is worse, let's look at the comparison between him and Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko did a pay to lose. But if you notice, Vasily Lomachenko's fight fans are still behind him. They're still saying that he's going to rematch the super duper hype job variation and Teofimo Lopez. And when they do get the rematch, Vasily Lomachenko is going to win. You see the way they're talking about Vasily Lomachenko? It's different. Because black fighters don't get the same level of treatment that fighters from other ethnicities, other races get. These are facts. These are cold-hearted. They're unadulterated. And they're cutthroat, truth-telling facts, but they're facts nevertheless. This is what Andre Ward was talking about. This is what Floyd has talked about. Earl the True Spence has mentioned it in the Wilder and the Fury. Double standards that's associated with boxing. He Knows Everything has mentioned it for years now. And this is what you guys are seeing. This is why Deontay Wilder has found himself in the precarious situation where Tyson Fury can play in his face. Tell him that he has COVID when in actuality he doesn't. Tell him basically that I'll fight you whenever I feel that I'm ready to fight you. This is the level of playing in Deontay Wilder's face that Tyson Fury has been doing to him. Now let's go to Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo had an undisputed fight against Brian Castano. It's the things that make you say. It's the things that make you say. But what you see with Jermell Charlo is if Jermell Charlo wanted to prove that he was a focused fighter, if Jermell Charlo wanted to prove that it was all about lions only, if Jermell Charlo wanted to prove that he was clearly, unquestionably, and without fail, that dude at 154, he would have locked in. He would have focused. He would have had the iron sharpeneth iron. For a man is sharpeneth by the countenance of his friend, training with Earl the True Spence. While Earl the True Spence is basically training for Manny Pacquiao, hey man, let's go in the ring, dog. Let's have the iron sharpeneth iron moment. Because Spence is going to be sharpened. See, when it says iron sharpeneth iron, Spence don't need the iron sharpeneth iron from Mel. Mel needs it from Spence. Let me say it again. Spence doesn't need it from Mel because Spence's iron is always sharpeneth. Mel needs it from Spence. This is why He Knows Everything laughed and scoffed at the real G's, the super real G's, and the ultimate real G's out here in these boxing streets that tried to have the unmitigated go on the audacity to compare Jermell Charlo with Earl the True Spence. And their reasoning behind it, their justification behind it, with Earl the True Spence, you know, he went into a car crash. But Jermell Charlo has been alleged by Gervonta Tank Davis from snorting coke, from snorting cocaine. Why would Gervonta Tank Davis put that out there and say it if there wasn't some validity behind it? And the way that you saw that him and Jermell Charlo reacted, I do believe there's validity behind it. Because the Charlo brothers do have those moments where their personalities can be very shifty, it can be very wayward, it can be very 50-50 in terms of one moment they're cool and in the next moment they are showcasing frustration, they're showcasing basically sporadic behavior, they're showcasing basically them getting mad at any given moment. I believe the Charlos are no longer doing it, but I do believe at some point they were on the shit, both brothers. And I like Jamal more than I like Jermell. But you know, over here on this platform, we're going to call a spade a spade. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it a buck, and we're going to keep it 1,000. Gervonta Tank Davis is box office. He's a boxer at the highest levels, the highest degree, and the highest order, transcending weight class from 130 to 135 to 140. Why would he lie about something like that? And he's a fellow PBC fighter. I take everything these fighters say by what they say at face value. See, I don't go by hearsay. I don't go by hoopla. I don't go by gossip. This is why He Knows Everything is always on the thumb, the needle, the curve, and the eye of the damn situation, because he's holding these fighters at face value. When you do this, it makes you authentic and it makes you consistent. But Jermell Charlo is now being basically criticized by the showbiz, the adults of the world. We already know he's a coon buffoon. We already know he's shifty. We already know he's wayward. We already know he's 50-50. He's being clowned by the Fight Hub TVs of the world. So just look at the background. I'm showcasing to you guys what's happening to Jermell Charlo, because you guys need to see this for what it is. And not only that, people are questioning if Brian Castano, like Fight Hub TV did, if he actually won the fight. When you're a black fighter, you cannot take your foot off of the damn X. You cannot take your foot off the pedal. You have to always keep the foot on the Neckss, and you have to always apply unlimited pressure. And like my fellow brethren, Tom Ross TV says, you have to separate the weak from the strong. I love that brother. That brother right there, his mantra is every bit as powerful as He Knows Everything's keep the foot on the Neckss, because he gets it. When you separate the weak from the strong and you keep the foot on the Neckss, that's exactly what the fuck it is. It's basically applying unlimited pressure, because pressure does what? It bursts pipes. And you're separating the weak from the strong. I'm borrowing his saying today because it applies. We need that Double Dragon's True Alpha energy back on YouTube. We need the Double Dragon's True Alpha energy to really reveal the double standards that's associated with boxing. The reason why I'm propping up this brother is because this brother has been right here where He Knows Everything from day one, telling you guys why black fighters cannot accept failure at any fucking level. They cannot take their foot off the gas. They cannot stop keeping the foot on the Neckss. This is why I'm disappointed in Jermell Charlo, because Jermell Charlo was so busy on divide and conquer and conquer and divide. He was basically using indirectly, involuntarily, and vicariously without realizing the LDBC's nonsensical conquer and divide and conquer. And you see what ends up happening? Every time the LDBC infiltrates their bullshit and fuck shit theology, and it fucks up these black fighters whenever these black fighters prescribe to it. They should know better. Jermell Charlo prescribed to it when he was cooning and buffooning for the cinnamon dust of a Horchata and Alvarez, i.e. Canelo Alvarez. all at the expense of Jermell Charlo. And it backfired. Now look what's happening. Look what Cinnamon Dust of Horchata and Alvarez doing. He's propping up Brian Castano. It's a things that make you say, It's a things that make you say, What did you think, Jermell Charlo? You thought that he was going to prop you up? You can't be that much of a brain full of mush and a brainwashed noodle head. That's why it does not pay off for you to go against your brethren, your brother, and i.e. Jermell Charlo. It's all about lions only, and you should have stayed on code. You should have stayed woke as fuck. This is the problem with a lot of folks that prostrate themselves, masquerade themselves as supposed black individuals, but in actuality they are not. They're giving you a similitude as if they are black, but they lack the fullness thereof, because they are not. They're about their self-interest. They're about self-preservation as the law of the land, in their erroneous state, not in the truest and the most properest state of what it truly belongs and where it truly should be. Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder are no different, because they both caved in. They both made the most idiotic, the most, what we would say, eccentric, and the most, what we would say, dumb decision to take their foot off the gas and to keep their foot off the Neckss. When you do stuff like this, it has ramifications. Why do you think Floyd Mayweather has become the fighter that he's become? It's because Floyd decided to not take the foot off the damn Neckss. Why do you think Andre Ward, as controversial as Andre Ward is, as basically what we would say the unofficial airfield fighter that Andre Ward has become, the type of person that Andre Ward has allowed himself to have respect and prestige of, why do you think that tag has followed Andre Ward the way it has? It's because Andre Ward decided a long time ago, I will not take a pay to fucking lose. You know how many times they wanted Andre Ward to fix fights? They wanted Andre Ward to lose. Andre Ward has talked about it, but they always brushed it under the damn rug. Because Andre Ward understands, as a black fighter, once you take that stainage, it's permanent. You can't undo it. This is why Earl the True Spence doesn't do it. And this is why he fights against it each and every single time. Because these guys that are airfield fighters understand the responsibility that becomes an airfield fighter and being black at the same time. You always got to work that much harder than the next man. I mean, it's the reality of being fucking black. Being black gives you a tag to where you always have to work harder than the next man. These are just facts. They're cold-hearted, they're unadulterated, and they're cutthroat truth-telling facts, but they're facts nevertheless, that as a black man, you have to work harder than your fellow, what we would say, other races. This is what it really boils down to. So when you see Jermell Charlo is suffering the fate that he's suffering, boxing community fan bases are clowning him. Boxing community fan bases are basically riling him. Boxing community fan bases are basically denigrating him. Boxing community fan bases are basically spitting at him. It's because Jermell Charlo didn't understand the cardinal rule of what it means to stay on code and to stay woke as fuck. This is what he's suffering, and this is why it's backfiring. What you also need to understand with Jermell Charlo is he does not have the laser focus of an Earl the True Spence. I don't agree with Earl the True Spence's relationship with Yella Beezy, but Earl the True Spence is a true alpha extraordinaire governed by true alpha economics. He's a Godzilla edition. Floyd Mayweather's like that. Andre Ward is like that. He Knows Everything is like that. Tom Ross TV is like that. We can have distractions and still find ways to push the distractions to the side, lock in, and still get shit done. Jermell Charlo is not like that. Deontay Wilder is not like that. These are guys that can't afford to have any fucking distractions because of the fact that they're both hot-headed, because of the fact that they both can be easily distracted, and because of the fact that they both, if they take their foot off of the gas at any given moment, they can find themselves in what's called a precarious situation. This is what you're seeing with Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano. Notice, Brian Castano is getting all of the love. He's getting all of the support. Even though in the fight, nobody fucking won. Both of these motherfuckers didn't do what they were supposed to win the fight. Nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. This is why it's not a draw to me. It's two fucking losers. Let me say it again. It's not a draw. It's two fucking losers. Jermell Charlo is actually the bigger loser because he's supposed to be the elite black fighter. Elite black fighters do not come in with bullshit and fuck shit performance like this, especially when it's up for the marbles of undisputed. What Jermell Charlo revealed in the pressurized situation, what he revealed at the highest moments, is you motherfuckers need to stop comparing him with the true Spence of the world. See, he got so wrapped up in his confidence, in real G's, super real G's, and ultimate real G's out here in these boxing streets, giving him too much fucking props instead of saying, Mel, it's not over. That's what He Knows Everything was saying. I'm sure that's what a Tom Ross TV was saying. It's not fucking over. Get your affairs in order and get this fucking undisputed. Because that's what Jermell Charlo should have been focusing on. This is what a Floyd focuses on. This is what a Andre focuses on. This is what a Earl focuses on. They know that once they get something, they got to keep getting. Godzilla Edition, True Alpha Extraordinaires, governed by True Alpha Economics. We're never satisfied. We always want more. But the Jermell Charlos of the world, he was feeling himself too much. And it showed. The way that he was training, it wasn't the same. But see, they don't get on Jermell Charlo when he does shit like this. Now you guys understand why He Knows Everything did not like him not being his brother's keeper. Because with twins, when one twin goes against another, it's a symbiotic relationship. There's ramifications that's behind it. He Knows Everything told you he has multiple twins in his family lineage. I've seen it firsthand. Twins have to stick together. When they don't stick together, things happen. I believe God has created it, the DNA, the physiology, the biology of them to be that way. Notice when they are against one another, bad things happen because they are part of one another. They're part of each other's DNA and each other's stock. And when one goes awry, when one goes basically rogue, it causes a dissension. It causes a conquer and divide and conquer. And when we have divide and conquer and divide, that means there's no unity. And if there's no unity, that means there's no stronghold. That means everything is penetrated. And everybody's in a weak man's position. This is what Jermell Charlo found himself into. That's what Deontay Wilder found himself into. This is what He Knows Everything's been trying to tell you guys for months. Prophet is not honored in his own home, but those whom they've rejected became the chief cornerstone. Every time you reject a prophet's message of a He Knows Everything's level, a He Knows Everything's stature, a He Knows Everything's mold, the chief cornerstone and He Knows Everything will keep slapping you right back in the face, will keep putting the foot on your damn necks of the cold-hearted, the unadulterated, and the cutthroat telefashion. What is happening to Jermell Charlo is deserving of him and his behavior, because you reap what you sow. What's happening to Deontay Wilder is deserving of his behavior, because you reap what you sow. Because when you take a pay to lose via Glovegate, you end up with the ramifications of a dent in your skull. We are a product of our environment. And if our environment is basically adhering to pure fucking beta supremes, beta cuck males, mama's boy pure fucking beta supreme iterations, we will become that. Deontay Wilder needs to solely listen to Al Heyman. Bend the proverbial fucking knee, kiss the ring while you at it to Floyd Mayweather. Jermell Charlo needs to go to the feet, the Gamaliel feet of a Earl the True Spence, so that an iron can sharpen if iron, for a man can be sharpened by the countenance of his friend and be ready for that rematch. And to bend the proverbial fucking knee and kiss the ring while you at it to Derrick James, because this is not Derrick James's problem. It is not Derrick James's fault. Trainers do so much, and they can only do so much. They can only lead you to the well. The fighter has to drink the water. Let me say it again. The trainer can only lead the fighter to the well. The fighter has to drink the water. And if the fighter's not willing to drink the water of what's called tactical aggression, technical punching placement, and body snatching work, the borrowing edition of the levying onslaught of what we call the venomous viper punishment style, then he can't keep the foot on the damn Neckss. And he can't separate the weak from the strong. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Neckss. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Neckss. Jermell Charlo disappointed. He knows everything. But so did Deontay Wilder. They're prodigal sons. They can always come back to the fold. But for right now, they've revealed to you guys what he knows everything's been telling you guys. That black elite fighters cannot take the foot off the damn Neckss. They cannot take the foot off the gas pedal. Because when they do this, they're the ones that suffer the criticisms. They're the ones that get the short end of the stick. They're the ones that get to take their head and put it where the sun don't fucking shine. Meaning stick their head right in between their fucking ass cracks. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Neckss. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Neckss. P.S. Jermell Charlo deserves every fucking bit of shit that he deserves because of what he's did. Deontay Wilder deserves every bit of the shit that he fucking deserves because of what he did. Now the question is, minor setback for a major comeback. Is it going to be that for those guys? Or are they going to continue to allow themselves to regress over and over and over again? This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.